Class is in session on 94 feet of UNC.
Gordy to Black. The time, 18. Shot, Jordan! Michael Jordan!
Swicker with the defense and the rebound. That's a good effort by Swicker.
Stackhouse freaking it on Park. Rebound dunk is good, and he gets fouled by Park. Oh my goodness, what a dunk by Stackhouse.
I think that he's running back so quickly, but you know what? They're down east. It's fair to say, but you can't teach that. You can't teach that high-rising ability.
3. And Green rips down the rebound in traffic. 4-on-1.
Great job. What a terrific job in transition. I mean, you could.
The glass no good. Rebound followed by hand throw. Good! Carolina.
Inside 30 overall. Love, top of the key.
Alice about this over. Carolina. The Tar Heels have won the national championship.
And that is it. There is a new team in college basketball. North Carolina takes the title. Hampton, any final. North Carolina is the 2009 national champion. And this year, the confetti is going to fall to North Carolina. They're not going to be denied this time.
What is up, everybody? It is Friday, August 23rd. I got to make sure I get my dates right here. You are tuned in. You are tuned in to the 94 Feet of UNC podcast. I am your host, Lindsay Graham. Before we get into it, I got a special guest in the building, of course, with me today. As everyone knows, if you've been watching all week, this is special guest week. I've had special guests on the show all week. So make sure you like, subscribe, share, comment, hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any future content that I provide for you guys. My special guest in the building today is Avery Bales from the Red Cup UNC. I'm sure a lot of you all know her as well. But before we get into it, I'm gonna let her introduce herself and everything, and then we're gonna get into it and just talk a little bit today and chop it up. Avery, how are you?
I'm good. It's a good morning. It's a good morning to do some fun stuff, have some conversations. My name's Avery. As he said, yeah, I run the Red Cup UNC account, and then I do multiple things. I'm a student here at UNC. I'm a junior. I'm trying to go into the career of sports broadcast, sports production. And I have a lot of cool experiences that we're going to talk about today. And I've been a UNC fan since birth. There's literally a blanket in my house that says Tar Heel born, bred, dead from when I was born. So I was kind of destined to come here. I'm named after Avery Dorm, if you're familiar with the campus of UNC. My dad lived there for 3 years, I think, and so that's where my namesake is from. So, yeah, huge UNC fan through and through.
That's what's up. That's what's up. That's what's up, man. You sound like you got a lot going on. I know that you like you said you want to get into the sports broadcasting and things like that. So I support you and salute to you for that or whatever. It's a tough business that a lot of people don't really understand and don't get it or what goes on into production and things like that when it comes to sports broadcasting. So I support you and salute to you on that or whatever. So getting into it, jumping into the first topic basically for today. Tell us a little bit about, the history that you've and the work that you've put in behind the scenes and things like that the people don't know about.
Yeah, so I got started with Red Cup News this January. Basically, the guy who was running the UNC account before me graduated. They needed someone else. I saw they were posting about like, oh, we're hiring, interviews kind of thing. Did an interview and I got the job. So I've been doing that since about January, but if we're going from before that, I decided I wanted to do sports broadcast after like my first semester at Chapel Hill, and I was able to get an internship with Raycom Sports. It's kind of a smaller one. Not everyone knows it, but they're based in Charlotte. They do a lot of ACC work, and they do more documentary type style things than live events. But I've interned with them for 2 years. Done a lot of cool stuff with them.
Mhm.
And then I work for Go Heels Productions here at the school, so I do cameras, control room stuff for some of the athletic events that are going on around here. And yeah.
But that's what's up for those that don't know, like an old head like myself. I definitely know what Raycom is. Raycom used to host all of the ACC games back in the day. So I definitely know all about Raycom. They kind of gotten away just a little bit from it. But I thought that the ACC was really good on Raycom, to be honest with you. So I hope the ACC definitely, gets back in with them and get a lot more games being shown and all of that
Mhm.
and stuff because that is big. I think they kind of now going towards the ACC network and things like that. So, but yeah, I definitely know about Raycom. So, but what behind the scenes productions and things have you done and worked with that a lot of people may not know about?
Yeah, so one thing I'm sure people have noticed in the past year, there's usually one or two UNC games that are on CW Sports Network. So they are working with Raycom essentially, and they determined that I think it was last summer it started to go into effect. So those
Right,
CW Sports programs that are on the CW channel, Raycom produces all of it. Like they do
right.
all of the producing and like they're in the TV truck, all that. Um, and so the first thing we kinda did with the CW was ACC kickoff of last year, for football in July. That was one of the first that was, like, kinda like the coming out of CW and Raycom collab. So I
Right.
was for that. I was also there this year. And then some cool projects that Raycom has done is that Roy Williams and Coach K, I forgot exactly how it was, like, the title. I think it was Rivals Reunited or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, that was all produced, edited, done by Raycom, so I was able to experience that. I was there, I set up all the stuff. I was the sit-in for when they were, like, adjusting the lighting and stuff, and I was sitting where Roy Williams was sitting, so I always like to say I sat in the same seat as a legend, um, and so
Shout
did
out to
all of
Roy. Shout out to
yeah,
Roy. Absolutely.
yeah, shout out to Roy. And then on the topic of Roy, this year, they have a project in the works. I don't know how much I can really say about it, but,
Yeah, don't put nothing out there to mess things up. So yeah, we
yeah,
definitely don't want to do that.
yeah, but so I'm not gonna say what it is, but we did an interview with Roy Williams this past summer, so, and it was kinda like a smaller thing, so I was able to kind of hear about Roy and kinda talk to him. I mean, it wasn't really that many of us in the room, and he was super cool guy. He is actually one of the nicest people ever, as well as Mac Brown. Both of them are incredible.
Mhm. Yeah, we love Mac Brown, and of course, we love Roy. Both of them, like you said, UNC legends. Both of them, if for any of the UNC, for any fans of basketball or football that don't know, Roy and Mac actually uh, went off to coach in other places, but UNC they came back home to. Coach Brown being the head football coach, of course, coming back from Texas. Of course, Roy coming back from Kansas, being the head coach at UNC for 18 seasons, I think, or something like that, winning three natties. So there's a lot of history, of course, with both of those guys, and big shout out and salute to both of them. If they're listening, I would hope one day to be able to get the both of you guys on the show for sure. I mean, just being able to talk to legends like that is just an incredible thing. I'm sure the feeling is beyond imaginable. So I totally understand that and everything. So how does the things with Red Cup kind of how does that work when it comes to that? Because I've seen Red Cup, like, from other colleges as well, like on, Instagram, things like that. So it looks like it may be sort of like a network in a way, and they kind of do Red Cup, UNC, Red Cup, Kansas, or Red Cup Florida, or something like that. So how does that work like that?
Yeah, so Red Cup News, I got the flag back there. It is a
Hmm.
network. Like you said, it is completely a network. They started out, the guy who founded it, he started out just going around and doing interviews with drunk
Hmm.
college students. And he was just posting them on like YouTube and TikTok. And obviously they were getting a lot of attraction.
Right.
And so they were like, let's make branches for certain schools. And so it started out real small, but it's big now. Like it's big. We have, I think there's 50 some branches, maybe more than
Wow.
that. Don't take my word on that. But I mean, we have like Oregon, Colorado, like it's all over. It's not just
Yeah.
East Coast.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's kind of like a network slash community for college students almost. Like
Okay.
I'll say the number one thing we focus on is making relatable content and making funny content. It's really just to make people laugh. So like one of the things that I do the most is like literally just making memes. And it probably sounds like so dumb to like say that, but a lot of work goes into it
I'm
because let me
sure.
tell you, and you have to be on it during games because, like, you need to post as soon as the game's done and things happen in the game, and you have to think of ideas and ways to incorporate certain moments from the game. It's very work on a whim kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Um, so it's kind of harder than it seems. I know it may seem like stupid and like easy, but it's not all that. Um, but it's definitely a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it a lot. I've been able to kind of just kinda have fun and post stupid stuff, but stuff
Yeah.
that's also relatable and funny, and when I got the account, I believe it was at around 1,800, 1,900 followers, and I'm almost at 4K. So from January to now, I've grown the account quite a bit, so I'm pretty proud of what I've been able to do and put out there with Red Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. As you should be. Like that's those are landmarks, as people would say, like to be able to, I know people when they get to like 1,000 followers, they post it and or something like that. Like we're at 1,000, we're at 2,000, we're at 3,000. So it's good because it's like landmarks and it's like goals. You can tell that people place goals when it comes to things like that. And it's important, of course, because of the fact I think what Red Cup is doing is amazing because of the fact it gives the students an opportunity for their voices to be heard in some way,
Exactly.
regardless of whether it's funny, regardless of whether it's something serious, whatever the case may be. Like I think that's an incredible because their voices matter too, and sometimes they don't have platforms or anything to be able to do that. So I think by Red Cup coming in and doing that, that is they're to be recognized for that, and it's remarkable because I mean, a lot of students, that generation. Like I said, I'm 43, so I'm kind of new to the whole social media things. Like back when I was growing up, we didn't have social media. As a matter of fact, it was like AOL.com and things like that. You had to plug the phone into the internet to things like that. So like I come from a totally different era. So but I can also imagine on the flip side of things how hard it is for the work because you got to be on it. It's kind of similar to the podcasting space, and just being a person that posts on social media, like as far as Instagram and things like that. Like when if a commitment happens, you got to be on it and and
Mhm.
and you got to put out an episode as soon as possible because your fan base, they're going to want to know, they're going to, of course they're following you, but they're going to want to know how do you feel about it, what you think about it, because they're your fans, and that it's just how it works. So it's similar to each other, but I can imagine, having to do memes and things like that. I don't even know how to do memes. I'm gonna be honest with you, but I totally get it, and it's funny because uh, in one of the group chats. I'm not gonna call the names or anything, but you probably know what I'm talking about. But in one of the group chats, uh, I think somebody had put up like, "Oh man, I'm not too far away from like 900 followers, or or something like that." And then I came in just with a little bit of sense of humor, and I was like, "Oh, I'm up to 120, 125 or something like that or whatever." So it's like, but it was a sense of humor thing because it was more so like, like I said, everybody they'll set those goals for themselves, which is incredible, which they should have. And I have goals for myself or whatever. And I'm proud of my 120, being someone that just started doing this, maybe now right at about 2 months ago. Like,
Yeah.
it's not I don't have a lot of followers as of right now, but I
Yeah.
do look for that to possibly, of course, grow in the future. So I totally get it. I'm proud of everybody else that do it. I support any and everybody that's in this space to do things or whatever the case may be, because they're the next generation,
Mhm.
and the next generation having that under their belt is an amazing thing, because it opens the doors and opportunities for other things, such as like with yourself being able to be behind the scenes in the production with the Coach K and Roy Williams rivals reunited show. Like that was big. Like I set the recorder for it, like
Yep.
of course being a Carolina fan, like of course. And it was the first time ever that you would see somebody like Coach K and Coach Williams sit beside each other and actually do the talk. And you could tell that they got a really good relationship. But I
Yeah.
think that was a really, really, really good show. And still to this day, I still watch it from time to time because
So does my
it was
dad. My dad
yeah.
has it recorded, and he always
Yeah.
loves to tell people, "Yeah, my daughter was there." I just have to say my daughter was there. I was like, "Dad, I was sitting behind the monitor just watch I did not press nothing. I did not do nothing. I was just watching it
Yeah.
all go down."
Yeah.
I was
You
just an intern.
You know what was really, I think what really stood out to me when it came to that whole show was it wasn't like open to the public, like
Mhm.
people, but it was open to coaches from
Mhm.
different schools all over the state, and things like that. Like, and to see, I mean, we're talking about coaches that coach volleyball, that coach soccer, that coach baseball, basketball, football, and high school coaches from
Mhm.
all over the state, to be able to come in and just being able to, it just shows the respect that Coach K and Coach Williams has, even though a lot of these other coaches might be in these other sports coaching or whatever. So it's remarkable. It's really amazing to see that. I mean, somebody that coaches volleyball, more, 9 times out of 10, you would think they're into volleyball. Like, they may like basketball, they may
Hey,
like soccer, and
I played volleyball, so not too much.
no, 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 no. I'm not saying it that way. What I'm saying is that the fact that you volleyball might be their focus. Like, I'm a basketball head. I
Yeah.
love basketball more than any other sport, right? Football, baseball, soccer, volleyball, all of that, right? Because that's just what I grew up on. I used to play all of that. Um,
Mhm.
but for somebody that might be, they might be more in tune with soccer or volleyball or lacrosse or something like that, and that might be their love, like their first sport that they always go to. But to see them come in and be able to sit in and listen to two legendary basketball coaches, and that's in a whole nother sport, is
Mhm.
is what I'm saying. That's
Yeah.
remarkable and everything. And you guys did an amazing job with it. I think you all should do a round two, or episode two. There's some things that I wish that they may have delved into a little bit more, but for the
There
most
was
part, yeah,
There was some stuff cut out. There
yeah,
were some certain ones, but nothing too crazy. And
yeah,
Jordan Smith, he was the producer, and all of that for it. So big shout out to him. And I mean, I was beside him as he was doing all of this stuff and
yeah,
figuring it all out. And he worked really hard on it, and he did a great job with it. So shout out
yeah.
Jordan for sure.
Shout out to Jordan Smith for sure. I don't know
Hmm.
you, but shout out to you. Like we
Yep.
spread love over here at 94 feet of UNC. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So absolutely, like keep doing your thing, bro. Keep doing your thing. So now let me switching a little bit. What do you think about our Tar Heels this year in basketball?
I'm excited.
Okay.
See, my thing, being a UNC fan for my whole life, as I've said, and being a basketball fan, I've learned to not get my hopes up. I feel
Okay.
like that, like, I love talking up basketball and I love talking about it, but
Hmm.
sometimes you have to make sure the expectations stay a little low.
Right.
And one thing that I've always noticed in my time, I mean, I'm only 20, but my time that I've been watching UNC basketball, when we are the underdogs, that's when we perform
Right.
amazingly.
Right.
So every time I see us getting a ranking on preseason and it's super high, I'm just like, oh gosh, this is going to backfire. That's my first thought. And maybe that's pessimistic of me. I don't know.
Right.
But I definitely think it's going to be a good season. I definitely
Hmm.
think a lot of transition is gonna occur, obviously. I mean, losing your key leader, your key big, it's gonna be kinda tough, but, I have a lot of confidence that Jalen Washington's gonna step up. He's
Right.
gonna be right there, and I think he's improved a lot, in my opinion, over the years, and so I think he's gonna come out and kinda shock the world, hopefully,
Yeah.
fingers crossed.
Yeah. It's funny because I was actually I was listening to another podcast. As a matter of fact, shout out to Locked On Tar Heels, my guy Isaac Shade. I was listening to him, and he actually pointed out a really good point that Jalen is like a center that North Carolina has never had because of the fact he's able to step out and hit the three fluidly. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, Armando, he did a few, throughout his seasons at UNC, but Jalen has the ability. He's kind of like if you actually had an Armando Baycott, which I was kind of surprised that Coach Davis didn't go with it last year. Jalen is like a stretch four. Um,
Mhm.
he may not be like a pure shooter like a Brady Manick or something like that, but he has the capability to step out and hit the three. He has a really nice jump shot. He can hit a 17-footer, and things like that. I think the concern was more so of, a lot of people, his agility as far as being able to move around in the paint,
Yeah.
and his quickness, his step, things like that. I don't think nobody ever doubted his jumper or anything like that. Of course, he
Yeah.
got to get a little bit stronger because I
Yeah, yeah.
mean, and get a little bit bigger. But I don't think we was really doubting that. I think it was more so that was one concern as far as his agility and quickness. But then I
Mhm.
think the other concern was, okay, what does Carolina do if he gets into foul trouble? Like, now you got to bring somebody else off the bench that is, you know, smaller than him. They may be bigger than him in size, but they're smaller than him. So I think with the new piece with Tyjon Claude coming in with his experience and things like that. I think that's going to be major for UNC this year because I mean 6'8", 230, that's a big guy. And I tell a lot of people all the time, Carolina's front court is big. We might not be in height, but we're big. Withers, Washington, Claude, uh, High, uh, James Brown, who I think is a development player. Don't know how much playing time he'll get this year, but he's still a development player.
Mhm.
Lubin, like we're big. So I think that that's going to really help Carolina out this year, and like you said, more so the transition. Being able to run up and down the court with Jackson and Powell, who I think is going to be. He may be ACC Defender of the Year because
Mm-hmm.
his defensive skills is just amazing.
Yeah.
No slouch or anything to Trimble, who's been giving it to us for 3 seasons now. But
Yeah.
that's gonna be huge. So I'm looking forward to this season. I think it's gonna be a really good season. I think we're a really good team. I think a lot of people are doubting us because of not
Mm-hmm.
being able to pick up bigs in the portal or whatever the case may be. But the good thing about it this year is Coach Davis has a lot of different he's very flexible now when it comes to different lineups that he can
Mm-hmm.
actually run with this season. And I think that's what's gonna put Carolina over the edge. And I mean, listen, we as Tar Heel fans, we're just like Duke fans, we're just like Kansas fans, people, Kentucky, people like that. But we always have that optimism that we're the best team. We're gonna win it all this year, and we're like that every year, regardless of who we got on the team. That's just who we are as Carolina. It's what we're accustomed to. It's what we're used to, and we're always gonna feel that way about our school. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's normal. I'm not mad at anybody for being optimistic because I am. I think we're gonna win it all this year. I think like that every year.
Yeah.
So we just got to wait and see how it transpires on the floor. Yeah,
Yeah. What I think is
yeah,
gonna be interesting. See, I'm a very I don't want to say superstitious, but I always like pay attention to the patterns. So
right.
I'm really glad that we're going to the Maui Invitational because the last time
Hmm.
we won a natty, we won the Maui Invitational. And so I love to just like see the little patterns like that and just kind of like be like, okay, so if we can prove ourselves here, maybe we could really go to the big stage and be in that national championship and contend for that.
Yeah,
So that's that kind of thing that like I like to point out. I think it's really cool. I
yeah,
think like just the little things. Like me personally, I don't know if you've ever watched the season recap from 2017 on like the Tar Heel Athletics page. It's
yeah,
essentially just like all of the bloopers and videos they have from the season, and like it marks them
yeah,
just like going through everything. I rewatch that like at least once a month just to give me like
yeah,
some happiness.
yeah,
And it's
yeah,
just so cool. And I would
yeah.
I would love to see it happen again.
It's crazy. It's funny that you say because I'm far from like superstitious. I don't really get into all of that, but I look at stats and like numbers and things like that, and they don't lie. So, like you said, in 2017, when we won the Maui, we turned around and won the Natty. So I totally get and understand where you're coming from when it comes to things like that. Like because and I tell people all the time, like, listen, what happened the last time we won the Natty? Not saying that it's gonna happen, but our chances are good. So like,
Mhm.
or if we beat Duke twice in the season,
Mhm.
what happens after that? Or, anytime Duke wins the regular season and Carolina 9 times out of 10 might win the ACC tournament or, just something like that. So I'm big on stats and I just I read it. I kind of look at those things as well, like But then, like you said, realities has to set in as well sometimes too.
Yeah.
And it's just that's just how it goes. I guess you can see. How do you feel about Duke this year?
See, Duke, this is where I'm torn a little bit. So I'm from Charlotte. I
Okay.
went to Hopewell High School. So Duke has Isaiah Evans from North Mech. So a part of me, so proud of him, like someone making it out of Charlotte, going to somewhere big,
Hmm.
but at the same time, I want to destroy him. So,
Right.
but I don't know. Duke every year, I'll be like, oh, they're gonna be trash. and then someone just comes out and, like, like, making 30 points a game, like,
Yeah.
I just I try not to think too much about Duke because the more I
Yeah.
think about it, the more mad I get. So
Yeah.
and I like to
Yeah.
control my anger. Um,
Yeah. That's
so
that's been a lot of the talk here lately. As a matter of fact, I had one of my another close friend of mine on one of the episodes earlier this week, and we discussed like Cooper Flag, if he was over or underrated.
mhm,
And I've been going back and forth with some people in regards to like how can you say that he might be overrated or whatever the case may be. But once again, I look at stats. And when you have somebody like a Cooper Flag and the hype that is around him, and you start watching some of the highlights, like I don't necessarily know if it's his game that makes him so good. It's more so of his basketball mindset, probably like making the right plays and things like that. So like, but when you're looking at history, like look at Zion Williamson. Look at where he is. Look at what he did then in at Duke versus what he does now at New Orleans in the NBA. Like he hasn't even really been playing like that. So, I just think that it's a lot of when that pressure is on a person like that,
oh,
it
yeah.
could really do something to the mind. Especially if they don't play, if they're not playing that the way that they want to play. And then that's what forces them to like I'm gonna play harder. They start taking more shots. They start missing. They start making bad plays. It's just a lot of pressure, and Cooper Flag has that around him.
Yeah, and,
Yeah,
like, the way I think about it, this is why I just love the way North Carolina does things,
right,
because I feel like North Carolina just has that ability to, like, for people like Marcus Page, RJ Davis, Joel Berry, for people like that, they don't, I mean, they have pressure on them, don't get, like, they have pressure on them, but those,
right.
like, sleeper 3 stars that come out of high school and then they end up having fantastic college careers and, like, Duke people are always like, "Oh, well, we have more players in the NBA." Okay, whatever, but
Which isn't
like, if we're
true, but
it
yeah,
is true, yeah,
yeah,
but it's a more a matter of being a college player versus being a pro player, and me
right,
personally, I'm one of those people, I'll watch pro sports every once in a while, but I'm college. I love college sports. College
right,
sports is, like, that is what I pay attention to,
yeah,
um so I always think it's so interesting to see like which players end up being pro players versus college players. Like that's my fear a little bit with like Ian Jackson and
hmm
Powell is I'm scared that, they're just here like some of those like Cooper Flags at Duke for just so that he can get to the NBA, which is fair. I completely understand that.
yep,
But I've always liked how UNC had that you stay here for longer than a year. Like I think going up to when Tony Bradley, he was, like, the first one and done in, like, 10 years, I think, or, like, 4 years or something like that, that UNC had
yeah,
had,
yeah,
and that's one thing I've always loved about UNC. I don't care if you have more pro players. Like, if we are talking strictly college, because some of those pro players, they don't even do that good in college, you
that's
know?
true, that's
And
true.
they just still have all this hype because yeah. And so I've always loved that about Carolina. I don't
Yeah,
like the whole one and done system. My dad has always called Duke the Foster Brotherhood. That's what he calls it because they go by the brotherhood and he's like,
right,
"You only stay
right,
there a year. Is that really a brotherhood?"
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so that's one thing that always has excited me about Carolina basketball and one thing that I always hate about
mhm,
Duke basketball.
yeah, yeah. So I was just on the phone with another close friend of mine not too long ago, and you know, we was actually talking about the whole brotherhood thing, whereas it's a difference between a brotherhood and a family. And
Exactly.
UNC is a family, regardless
Mhm.
of whether you went there, whether you don't. We just have a different way of doing things when it comes to our players or just in general, like the morality, the integrity, the dignity, like, just things like that as a whole. Whereas,
Mhm.
you got some of these coaches out here not so much even saying with Duke, but you got some coaches out here, they're great recruiters, but what do they what do they do in the college world as far as winning and things like that? And they do win, but
Mhm.
there's a difference when you've been coaching for over 20 years and you only have one national championship. Um, you know, like that to me, there's an issue somewhere. Like I don't know if they're gonna go down in the Hall of Fame, but in my eyes, do we really call them greats? Like, it's not that's not Jim Boeheim, for example. He'll go down in the Hall of Fame, but to me, is he a great coach? I don't think so. I mean, you got
Mhm.
one natty, you coach for God knows how long. Like, so how much of greatness do you have? Now, if you want to base it off of I can't say that you can even base it off of your accolades because you got again one natty, but you got a lot of wins. So
Mhm.
but then look at the time span that you did all of this in. Does that put you in the greatness category? So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It's there's a way that we got to figure a system out when it comes to that. And
Yeah.
I have a system, but I try to present it to I try to present it to people, but then
Mhm.
they always have some type of they want to be combative about it, basically.
Yeah.
And but that's good for the sport,
Oh,
being
yeah.
competitive and things like that. So
Mhm.
it's all good and it's all love. But those are topics for a later date, whatever you want to call it. So, well, you know. But listen, Avery, I appreciate you stopping by. Like I told
Of
you, it wasn't
course.
gonna be long today.
Yeah.
Let everybody know where they can find you at and everything, and that way we can go ahead and wrap things up.
Yeah, so obviously RedcupUnc on Instagram. That's probably where you'll see the most UNC content from me. Um, I had told you about this. I had a podcast I started back in like my freshman year. It's called Certified Sports Girl. The only episode you should really listen to if you even listen to one. I did one with Devontae Walker, good friend of
Okay.
mine. It was a great episode. I mean, he kind of you kind of learn a little more about him, and this was kind of in the this was, pre bowl game from last season.
Okay.
So he still
Okay.
hadn't decided that he was going to the NFL yet, but
Right.
you kinda got to know him a little more. So definitely check that out if you wanna learn more about Tez. He's a great guy. I love Tez. Um, and then, yeah, Red Cup UNC, and my personal is just Avery Bales 24 if you want.
Gotcha, gotcha. So everybody, don't worry. Her links and descriptions and everything will be in the description when you all watch the video. Like I said, make sure that you all subscribe, share, hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on anything. Avery, I appreciate you jumping on board and coming on
Yeah.
to the show today. Uh, as everybody, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel and we're gonna catch you all on the next go round. But until then.